The music was loud, too loud. The chandeliers sparkled above the ballroom, casting golden light on guests in shimmering gowns and tuxedos. It was the wedding of a billionaire, extravagant, lavish, everything most people could only dream of. But in the corner of the stage stood a trembling figure, a maid, young, exhausted, and visibly pregnant. Her name was Maria. She wasn't supposed to be here, certainly not under the spotlight, but the event planner had forced her to sing for the guests. "It'll be amusing," someone had whispered. "A poor maid entertaining the rich." Maria's voice cracked on this first note. Guests chuckled. Some pulled out phones, ready to record and mock. And that's when a man in the crowd noticed. Michael Turner, a single dad, a veteran who had carried scars both seen and unseen. He had been invited only as a driver for one of the guests, hardly the type to fit in among billionaires. But as a man who had once known what it felt like to be broken and humiliated, his blood boiled watching Maria being forced into this cruel spectacle. Then it happened. Maria swayed, gripping her belly. The stress, the lights, the pressure. A broken bar. She was about to collapse. Without thinking, Michael pushed past security. Gasps filled the hall. Who was this man interrupting the wedding? He caught Maria just before she hit the ground. His voice was firm, steady like the soldier he once was. "She's not entertainment," he said, glaring at the guests. "She's a human being, and she needs help." The room froze. The bride's father, the CEO himself, was furious. "Get this man out," he barked. But Michael didn't budge. He carried Maria to a chair, demanding water, calling for a doctor. His conviction was unshakable. And then something unexpected happened. The bride, dressed in white and looking like she had the world at her feet, stepped forward. Her eyes glistened. "Stop," she said softly. "Let him be." The hall went silent. She turned to her father. "Do you even hear yourself? Throwing out a man who just saved a pregnant woman? Is this the kind of marriage I want to begin with? Cruelty and indifference?" The groom shifted uncomfortably. Guests looked away, ashamed. The bride knelt beside Maria, holding her hand. "I was raised by a single mom," she confessed quietly. "I know what it's like to be invisible in rooms like these. But today, that ends." She stood, voice steady. "From this moment, Maria will never serve as anyone's maid again. I'll make sure she and her child are taken care of." The guests, stunned into silence, slowly began to clap. Not for the wealth, not for the luxury, but for the courage to do what was right. And Michael? He slipped away quietly, not seeking applause. But before he could leave, the bride caught up to him. "You reminded me what this day is supposed to be about," she said. "Not power, not status, but love, respect, and humanity." Michael nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. For the first time in years, he felt his service, his sacrifice had meant something beyond the battlefield. That night, Maria was taken to the hospital for care. The bride cancelled the rest of the extravagant show and instead turned her reception into a fundraiser for struggling single parents and veterans. The story spread like wildfire, not about the CEO's wealth, but about the maid, the veteran, and the bride who chose compassion over appearances. Michael returned home to his daughter, who hugged him tight. "Daddy," she whispered, "you're a hero." And maybe, just maybe, he believed it. Because sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought with weapons, but with courage, kindness, and the willingness to stand up when no one else will. Maria lay in the hospital bed, her eyes heavy with exhaustion but filled with gratitude. She kept looking around for Michael, but he was gone. The bride stayed by her side, holding her hand, whispering words of comfort. At that very moment, Michael was driving through the quiet night. The cool air rushed in through the window, brushing against his face. For the first time in years, he felt peace. Yet deep inside, an old ache stirred at the ache of coming home from war and finding no one there to care, no one to recognize his sacrifices. But tonight was different. Tonight, he had seen how a single act of courage could change not just one life, but many hearts. When he reached home, his little daughter ran straight into his arms. Her eyes sparkled as she hugged him tight. "Daddy, I saw it on the news. Everyone's calling you a hero." Michael's eyes grew misty as he kissed her forehead. "A hero, sweetheart, is someone who stands up for the weak. Tote a broken bar. I just did what was right." A few days later, there was a knock at the door. Standing there was the bride, smiling, graceful, and beside her, Maria, her face glowing despite the hardship. In her hands, she held a small ultrasound picture, the faint outline of a tiny life within her. "We came to thank you," the bride said softly. Michael paused, looking at both women, then replied with quiet strength, "If each of us just extends a hand when someone is falling a broken bar, the whole world can change." And in that moment, he knew that the real strength isn't in wealth or weapons. It's in becoming hope for someone who had none.